Matthew chapter 5 and verse 20. For I say unto you that except your righteousness exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. So as we seeing, it's starting to catch on to what's being revealed through the Spirit, and that's regarding that these groups are the wicked scribes, Pharisees, Sadducees, teachers of the laws, elder, chief priest, whatever, right? And not just the wicked ones, but the righteous ones too. And how do we know that? Because the elect got a form. All right. So that's how we know, which is gonna be formed before we out of here, and by default is gonna bring it into these camps, to the groups. All right. The only group that's gonna be standing is the group that's formed of the individuals that may be within these groups and that weren't with these groups, or if they were in a group of their own, which was maybe a smaller group, that didn't consist of everyone that was of the elect. Or you might have some groups that, of those sorts, maybe that may be completely of the elect as far as each individual. But by default, when all those come together and form, you're gonna have by default the ending of these camps, and that's being revealed that on a very high level. And if you don't see it, you eventually gonna see it. Watch what's gonna happen. Watch. If the prophets and teachers are back, the false prophets are. If the house of David is back, the house of Saul is back. If David is back, gonna be back during Jacob's trouble, whether he was the elder Marsha or he's walking around, as some brothers say. That's either way, he's gonna be back during Jacob's trouble. He's gonna be manifest before all during Jacob's trouble. So if all of these individuals coming back, that means all have to come back. If Ezra is here, Daniel's here, hell, Yahweh Shah's gonna be back. It says when Yahweh Shah come back, the hands of those that pierced him shall even see him, which is the Romans, which are the Edomites, these so-called white people. But who delivered Yahweh Shah into the hands of the Romans? The groups, the wicked of those groups that was formed, that he wasn't a part of. That's who did it. So if all these individuals is back, they're gonna be back. It goes without saying. It'll behoove you to believe and realize and start to understand these things, and the order how everything happened. All right. Just because you're first don't always mean that's good, because a lot of the bad came first. All right. But a lot of the good could be found amongst the first as well as the last. But so Shalom, and that's what I'm gonna be going into. That's the reasoning, if you will, for why I'm gonna be going into what I'll be going into, which is Matthew 5 and 20, as it says, for I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees. And this proves it, because if we use this today, and everyone is back. in a regeneration. Those of you that have followed me in a regeneration, when the Son of Man shall come and sit upon the throne of his glory, ye shall also sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. You know, and that was talking about reincarnation. All those that were Yahushua was talking to in these moments that were wrote about, they will become back when Yahushua and will be here. They will be who Yahushua will come back to at the end of the last days. So reread it again. It proves my whole point, as I was saying. It says, "For I say unto you," he said, "For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness." See, so you will be you today that listen, more than likely listened back then. And he told you back then, except your righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees. See that? So they will have to be back again. Because you once again realizing all of this. It's all being brought back to your remembrance. You know? All the things that Yahushua has said unto us, man. So, and Yahushua is a prophet. So he was not only just talking to the times of now, but about the individuals that, or the times of then, but about the individuals that were in the times of then, you know, that will more so fulfill this during the times of now, you know. Because you come back in your lot, you know, and with this being the last times, this proves who everybody truly is based off who they been. It proves who they were and who they truly are. All right. So, as he said, except your righteousness shall exceed, for I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees. Now you realizing all of this and they're back and whatnot, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. So that's what I'm getting into, call like Yahweh Basham, Yahweh Shai, Wahar, Rachakodash, double honors to the hopefully elect elder apostles. You know, the elect elder apostles at the Great Mill and elder bishops at the Great Millstone Church. All right. And to all the Akim out here under, you know, the same doctrine, the correct doctrine, doing what they need to do in order according to the scriptures to the best of their ability. All right. Nonetheless, and regardless, across the four corners of the globe and to the rest of the believers. All right. The true believers. And it's sincere. So the Lord said, "For I say unto you, except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter the kingdom of heaven." So when you got put on game, because that's exactly what Yahushua was doing when he came. Because before Yahushua came, pretty much what was going on, Israel was subjected to the leadership then, before he came, which is all the different groups. All right. And what he came and did, he was about the Lord too. Obviously, he was the son of the Most High. And he really knew what was going on. You know, he was a prophet, and he didn't come up the ranks normally like everyone else, because all that was man-made. You know, it wasn't of God, and that's why it was overthrown. All right, and those that were of God, that were among those groups, you know, and subjected to those groups, came from either out of those groups or out of the influence, the things that they may have taken on through the influence of the doctrine, or their actions, I should say. As it says right here, Matthew 16 and 1, it says, it's like I'm gonna jump down to the point. This is verse 6. It says, we'll start at 5. And when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Yahushua said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Why? Because one reason Yahushua said that is because Before Yahushua came, the disciples were subjected to listen. Israel was subjected to listening to them. All right. So men were esteeming a lot of things that they were doing. Like, for instance, this proves it. This is John 4. It's like in John chapter 1. And I'm gonna start at 45. It says, I'm gonna actually start at 44. It says, I'm gonna start at 43. All right. It says, the day following, Yahushua will go forth into Galilee and findeth Philip, one of the disciples, and said unto him, follow me. Now Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. The other disciples, it says, but Philip findeth, it's like if Philip findeth Nathanael and said unto him, we have found him, of whom Moses and the law and the prophets did write, Yahushua of Nazareth, right? They found him, but really the Lord found them. The Lord, because you don't choose the Lord chooses you. But basically, they realized what was going on. And these aren't men that was actually a part of the groups, but they were subject to the groups as who went on and became Yahushua disciples, who Yahushua, this is going to go on and say, let me read on. It says, we have found him, of whom Moses and the law and the prophets did write, Yahushua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said unto him, can there any good thing come out of Nazareth? Philip said unto him, come and see. Yahushua saw Nathanael and coming to him and said to him, behold, an Israelite in whom is no guile. Nathanael said unto him, whence knowest thou me? Yahushua answered and said unto him, before that Philip called thee, when thou was under the fig tree, I saw thee. Nathanael answered and said unto him, this proves it, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God, thou art the King of Israel. And what was one of the things Yahushua went on and told the disciples not to do? Called no man, or really, he didn't say nothing at this point, because it's true, he was the master. But pretty much, it was a tradition. They would call him men rabbi because that's what the Pharisees, the groups, they had going on. All right? That's what was going on. And where did they get that from? They got that from, like I said, the ones that Yahushua was telling them about. Going back. So that just shows the influence. This is Matthew 6 and 5. So that's why he said, start at 5, and when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. And you know what? Matthew 23 and verse, I'm going to start at 1. Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All right? Which this goes to the point right here. But I'm going to jump down to 6. And love the uppermost rooms at feasts and chief seats in the synagogues and greetings in the markets, to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master. So this is where they got this from. They were subject to the influence of those that had influence before Yahushua came, which was the groups. All right. And for one is your master, even Hamashiach, and all ye are brethren. So that's the point. So that I just use that to show you that these are the things that everyone was subjected to, even the disciples who weren't of the groups before Yahushua came. So that's why he would come pointing things out. I'm gonna give you one more to show you this. This is Saint John 1 and I'm gonna start at. I'm gonna jump to the point. These are John's disciples, verse 35. And the next day, after John stood and two of his disciples, and John the Baptist, that is, and looking upon Yahushua as he walked, said, Behold, the Lamb of Yahweh the Father. And the two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Yahushua. Then Yahushua turned and saw them following, and said unto them, What seek ye? They said unto him, Rabbi, which is to say, being interpreted, Master. See? So where did they get that from? All right, in verse 40, it tells you one of the two which heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon, Peter's brother. See that? He first findeth his own brother Simon and said unto him, We have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted, the anointed. That's what Christ means. All right. So, yeah. So they weren't with the groups, but they was influenced by the groups, and then they ultimately, through the spirit of Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shah, woke up through Yahushua, which Yahushua, that's why I said he was sent as a light and lighted upon Israel to enlighten Israel. That's what was going on. So they're going back to Matthew 16 and 1. It says, so that's why he had to tell them, don't be called rabbi, because they were so influenced, like, yo, that ain't it. And they was being shown, But the thing is, a lot of what the groups was teaching was correct. They just didn't understand that, and they was hypocrites. They didn't understand a lot of things, but they was hypocrites. Certain things that they needed to understand that they didn't, and they was hypocrites. But anyway, the wicked ones, that is, it says, of the groups, but it says, Matthew 16 and 5, and when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Yahushua said unto them, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. And what was the leaven? All right. What was the leaven? Verse 12. It says, Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, like actual bread. He was actually talking about bread, because he played off the moment that they just was in, which was it was spiritual. They left bread. All right, that was spiritually set up to help Yahushua make this point to them. And then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine, because bread is synonymous to the word. That's why Yahushua said, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word. It's comparable unto bread. But it says, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. See that? So it was because the doctrine of the teaching. All right, and what were some things they was teaching? Let's get it. This is Matthew 23 and 1. Then spake Yahushua to the multitudes and to his disciples, saying, The scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do ye not after their works, for they say and do not. Exactly. So that's why it take me back to my point, right? And it was things that they had in their doctrine that was off. Like the Sadducees only thought it was about the law, They didn't even and the scribes and whatnot. The Sadducees didn't even believe in resurrection, which is why they talked to Yahushua about the resurrection being bugged out. They didn't believe in none of that stuff. All right. And then the Pharisees, they more so had a grip on everything. But that's why Yahushua, once again, somewhat grip. He said, saying unto the scribes, Matthew 23 and 1, then spake Yahushua to the multitudes and to his disciples. And the multitudes represent just regular Israelites and men who were of the multitude of so-called regular Israelites at a point who will come in and be disciples. You know, sisters, everything. You know, those that weren't necessarily given a lot to teach or weren't prophets. You know, but hell, you're gonna have a lot of the prophets, in a sense, among the multitudes. All right, because you was once in the world. All right, but anyway, for those that teach, but anyway, you might be a prophet. Everybody not prophets though, man. You gotta understand it's a difference. It says, then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees, see, he left out the Sadducees, sit in Moses' seat, all therefore whatsoever they bid you observe and do, but do ye not after their works, for they say and do not. And that was the issue with them. But that's why Yahushua could say you could listen to them, because they teach. They teach everything correct, but there's certain things they don't understand, and they not even doing the stuff that's parts of the doctrine that are things to be done, that are actions to be done or actions to not be done. But yet they're either doing the stuff they're not supposed to do, or they're not doing the stuff they're supposed to do, which is a teaching in itself. Like they say, you lead by example. So that's why you got to beware the doctrine of the Pharisees as well, in the sense of their actions, And then the Sadducees, they just completely off in the doctrine. They might be teaching you something that might not even be true. You know what I'm saying? That's not true. And that translates to groups, which are these groups today, they find themselves pretty much in that lot, being given the lot of those that were on the scene before Yahushua, the truth, enlightenment really came, And these men was just used to lay things down that edification and truth need to come forth on, So they because they gave the Lord a lot of talking points, They had already had Israel in the subjects they need to be into, They had Israel knowing who they was, but there's more to it. There's about scholarship, but there's more to it. Scholarship can help, but there's more to it. It don't just come down to that. So that's why it take me back here to what St. John 1. And that's what we starting to see. That's what you should be realizing. Salaki. Matthew 5:20. It says, I'm going to start at 19. It says, whosoever therefore shall break therefore one of the, let me start at 17. Think not I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill, meaning bring out was actually what, Let me read. This is Matthew 5:17 in the NLT. Do not misunderstand why I have come. I did not come to abolish the law of Moses, which they were teaching, or the writings of the prophets, which they were teaching. That's all that's correct. No, I came to accomplish their purpose. So if the law, actually do it. If it's judgment, actually do it. Righteous judgment that's to be done, actually doing that. Prophecies that got to be fulfilled, I've been put in place to help certain things that were written to be fulfilled. Actually, I'm the one to help do that, But they just looked at him like he was a regular man, and they thought it just came down to him. Well, actually, them. I'll just read on in the NLT. I tell you the truth until heaven and earth disappear. Not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. So if you ignore the least commandment, I'm going to jump back. So this is verse 19, back in the KJV, Matthew 5:19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of the least of these commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do them and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So that was the issue with them, because they were saying, teaching, but they weren't doing. All right, but they was teaching what was correct. But anyway, that's the point. That's what these groups was doing. And now you've been put back on game. Now we the people who you are. You don't know who you are coming back. But everybody comes back. You know about reincarnation. And we know that the Lord is coming back to the people that pierced him. But the people the people that helped those that pierced him, which is these so-called white people, these modern day Romans, pierced him, which are, the wicked of the groups, those that had the influence of the groups, over Israel, are back too. They're gonna have to be here. So who are they? Because you can't say these people are people in the world. There's people, certain Israelites in the world that don't care or ever even woke up to the fact of them being Israelites and tried to serve the Heavenly Father. These people are people that was trying to serve the Heavenly Father, but they was doing it in wickedness. And they had influence over those that were of the regular, if you will, of our people that was also trying to serve the Heavenly Father. See? So it's just there, bro. This is Matthew 5:20. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. So now as you getting with that, okay, it's these groups. You can't be a camp hater because the Lord, he used a lot of truth to come out of the groups. And then you don't just look down on them, because first of all, you don't even know who could be in the camp, these groups. You didn't just have all wicked scribes and Sadducees and Pharisees and, whatnot. The elders, I believe, is another group, but you didn't just have that. You had, those that were actually trying to do the right thing. Hicks, Nicodemus, Gamaliel, Paul, Menak there were pretty much examples of those that were once literally in the group, not just under the influence, but under the influence in the group because they're under the influence because they're in the group and pushing the influence of these groups, who are a bunch of hypocrites, teaching things right, but just making it seem like it's just only about that. Like just the knowledge make you right, and you could just be however, and it's only about your group. That's how these ones was, but you're going to have individuals that were, that are of that amongst these men until they come down, just like it did then. And they're going to come out of that. They're going to come out of it, man. Because what was set up after the light was put on them? The churches, the true churches, the house of David. And then you still gonna have individuals, you still gonna have issues amongst us until we're given perfect bodies. But the elect, right, that's forming and will be completely formed before we out of here, they're already deemed perfect. It ain't no charge that can be laid to them. But that's why I'm saying this, for I say unto you that except your righteousness, now that you've been put on game, shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter the kingdom. You shall in no case enter the kingdom of heaven. So you can't be doing the crap they was doing. You can't find out about them and then you go start teaching the truth and then you're not even living up to it. You can't do any of these things. It makes you even learn it is null and void, pointless. All right. It says, this is Matthew 23. I'm going to just give some examples. This is Matthew 23:2, saying the scribes, and I'm going to start at 3:1 again. Then spake Yahushua to the multitudes and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do ye not after their works, for they say and do not, because they was actually teaching the correct things, but they weren't doing them, and they were put in position to lead. Like Saul. Saul wasn't not put in position to lead. He just truly wasn't the man of the Lord. And he wasn't wrong the whole time. He was right at a certain point. Then who he was actually the whole time was revealed through certain works he started doing. But David, who came after, he didn't go on to proceed. He didn't treat him like he wasn't put in the position to rule. He was like, I'm not gonna go against the Lord's anointed. I'm gonna watch what I do. But the Lord just made it clear that this man isn't right. But in David, he couldn't help but avoid the man, but still moving correctly to where, like how they say, you kill him with kindness is actually a scripture I'm thinking of, to where, like you say, if let me grab some Proverbs 25 and man, it says, because this kind of going into the relationship with Saul and David. This is Psalms 25 and that's spiritual. 18. A man that beareth false witness against his neighbor is as a maul and a sharp sword and a sharp arrow and a sword and a sharp arrow. Salaki. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. And that's how it kind of was with David and Saul. David was trying to keep confidence, but it wasn't working, man. It just couldn't hold up. The relationship was not going to work. So he had to, he was forced to acknowledge it, It says, I'm going to just read through. As he taketh away a garment in cold weather, and as a vinegar upon niter, so is he that singeth songs to an heavy heart. And that's the spirit, because David was playing a harp to Saul, but just getting to the point, because I ain't even what I'm trying to speak on. This is it. If thine enemy be hungry, give him bread. This is kind of how David was moving, because he was still, even though Saul was showing forth these actions, right? He was still acknowledging that the Lord, he was in Moses' seat, if you will, right? It says, and if he be give him bread to eat, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink. And right now we do that spiritually, So if they lacking understanding, they against us, we just keep, giving them the word, pushing the word, And it says, for thou, basically doing good, right? For thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord shall reward thee. Because why? You doing the right thing, and this man is coming against you now. You see that? And so by default, that's gonna get him. He gonna get himself destroyed. He destroyed himself. That's gonna destroy him. That's gonna cause him to have to be destroyed. All right, it's just gonna reveal and make it righteous. That's why I said the Lord, he don't do no iniquity in judgment. All right. So going back to Matthew 23, all therefore whatsoever they bid you observe and do, but do ye not after their works, for they say and do not. So yeah, these groups, like starting with GMS, they got the correct doctrine. You know what I'm saying? You got things the other groups teach, that's true. Hell, you got, they're not teaching, that we entering into the new covenant per se. They're not really even pushing that, making that a thing. Like the chip more so talked about than the because it's prophecy, then the new covenant, as if specifically, right? Like the mention of the new covenant, the mention of the mark of the beast is more so mentioned in the mention of the new covenant, because the prophecy, the mark of the beast is looked at like it's prophecy, which we know we all understand that's the biggest thing to make it about the prophecy, but that's looked at like it's prophecy as if mentioning the new covenant all the time. It isn't, as if it's more, We ain't taking that shit. So that don't even concern us. All right. That's a time. That's a part of it. Yahweh Shai, he had that revealed that to John, but the new covenant is also prophecy. That's the new song. All right. That's what we're supposed to be singing. But men ain't dancing to that. You know? So I forgot why I even say that, but this the point. Say, for they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and they lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. So, you're going to end up by default linking with other individuals, probably, maybe. That's what's going to happen. The elect are gonna. We're not supposed to be as a bull strand alone. That's in this truth, the true spirit of Yahweh Shai Shai doing it fully. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, when something else formed, which is ultimately the house of David, you're not supposed to end up being dumb all over again, which men can do. Being a hypocrite or anything, you don't want to do that. So you could just read all this yourself, and that's basically the point, all right? I'm going to read on. This is Matthew 5 and 20. So for I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter in the kingdom of heaven. So they help the truth come out, you know what I'm saying? But they're not right. This is not the house of David. And a lot of things these groups are missing, and they're not even teaching, or they're not teaching correctly. You know what I'm saying? They're not actually being about what it's about. They just within themselves, and that's it. And it ain't supposed to be like that. All right? It worked both ways. A vetting process works both ways. Who are you to just approve me as if you can't, once I'm approved by you, you can't do me wrong? Like what? That don't even make sense. Yeah, you prove a neighbor, and that's it. But as far as making it like it's about anything besides the spirits that the Lord predestined to come into this truth, and that's about, helping this ministry go forth, is off. The will, the purpose of Yahweh Shai, that's off. So that's how we know these groups are these people coming back, man. They're in the lots of these people. And I got some lessons that I'm gonna do to prove this. All right. So, you gotta move correctly. Yeah, so you brothers and sisters, you seeing this, you realizing this, you brothers that was in these groups that's leaving, that left, that or even got put out, you have to exceed their righteousness, man. You gotta take what's truth, more of the truth that's been revealed through it, the true understanding through it, and what's actually expected, to the best of your ability while not being over righteous. And understanding you gonna fall, but what's permissible and what isn't, and exceed their righteousness, or you're gonna fail too. The kingdom gonna be given to another, bringing forth. The Lord said that. Let me grab it. This is Matthew 21 and 43. It says, "Therefore I say unto you, the kingdom of God, Yahweh shall be taken from you and given to a nation, bringing forth the fruits thereof." See? So that's what it comes down to, and that's what the same thing that's happening to them and happened to them, was happening to being finalized now in these times. It happened to you. All right, read on. "Whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken, but whomsoever shall fall, it will grind him to powder." So you can't stumble with the word, trip over the word, get on a point to where you begin to trust the word, or set at not the word. You know what I'm saying? Or be offended or whatever. All right, certain things, you omitting, to fit a narrative. You start developing a narrative. The kingdom be taken from you. It says, "And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard his parables, they perceived that he spake of them. All right. But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the multitude, because they took him for a prophet." And that's exactly what is the same thing that's going to happen now. So I'm going to just end on this. So that's what we got to do. So when David he perceived. I'll just get it. This is Matt. This is 1 Samuel 15 and 22. So I'm gonna start at 22. So Saul, he was being carnal and all these different things, which I'm gonna go in. But when David, when he perceived what was the wrong thing, never left what was the wrong thing, while those that was before him were, starting to do that, he ended up having the kingdom given unto him. That's how he ended up getting the kingdom. But I'm gonna prove it. It says First Samuel 15 and because that's how it worked. 15 and 23. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. And that's exactly how a lot of the groups is, because thou has rejected the word of the Lord. And ultimately, it could be in a time when the word, the truth of the word is at hand, and that's when stubbornness come, and you basically you take on the wickedness of idolatry, because basically you think so much of yourself, you know what I'm saying? And what you made, you end up forgetting about the Lord. It can happen. That's what Saul did, because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, and that's what you'll end up doing. He hath also rejected thee from being king. And Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of Yahweh and thy words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Right. You made it about the influence you had. You see what I'm saying? You was thinking about the ones that gave you influence. All right. Now, therefore, I pray thee, to where you made the wrong decision, I pray thee, pardon my sin and turn again with me, that I may worship Yahweh. And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of Yahweh, and Yahweh have rejected thee from being king over Israel. And as Samuel turned about to go away, he laid open upon the skirt of his mantle and rent it. That's dealing with that exposure. It says, and Samuel said unto him, Yahweh have rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day, and hath given it to a neighbor of thine, other Israelites. It says that is better than thou. See that? And that was David, which David was said to be, a man after the Most High's own heart, but he wasn't one that people would have expected. But he was about it. So that's you just can't sit at home and be like, oh yeah, I know it, blah blah blah. Or if you was already saying that and just waiting on other ones to start saying it. If your righteousness don't exceed their righteousness, not a truth coming out, you ain't entering in the kingdom of heaven. All right? You're not entering. And David, he still had slip ups, but ultimately his heart was after the Most High completely. All right, so with that call, I'm like, how about Shmuel Shah? Shalom.